I'm Elle, and this is Cosmic Curiosities. Hello and welcome to Cosmic Curiosities. It is Easter Sunday, and how fitting is it that we are jumping back into our discussion of reincarnation and past life connections. We are picking up right where we left off last week, so if you have not listened to episode 23, Past Life Connections and the Multiverse Part 1, I would highly recommend listening to that episode before continuing on. Otherwise, a lot of what's to follow will make no sense. But I am excited to share the rest of this episode with you because we are just getting to the good stuff. As always, if you would like to experience the magic of past life regression or cosmic channeling, you can send me a message on Instagram or visit my website, ellembers.com. Now, let's dive back in. Exactly. Yeah. And I think too, so many people tend to have this attachment to somebody in their current lifetime that they're like, oh, I must have known them in a past life. Like there must be some sort of connection, right? But sure, maybe there is, maybe there isn't. Maybe it was a nice connection. Maybe it was a not so nice connection. But either way, it doesn't guarantee that it's going to play out the same way now. But also, I guess, what do you really do for someone that has those intense feelings about being connected to someone? I must have known them in a past life, whether that's romantic or not, whether that's...
I think we're on the same wavelength right now. I think we're both thinking the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. What was... Oh, so the question is, what do you do for someone?
Yeah, like, what would you suggest, like, for someone who is, like, really... intensely like, oh my god.
We're talking about twin flames right now, right? That's what...
Well, I said not necessarily romantically.
But that's what you were getting at though, right?
I was, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. For anyone who believes in twin flames, I think it is a very... Well, one, what the hell is a twin flame anyways? I think there are so many definitions floating out there of what that dynamic is. From what I understand... which I don't necessarily resonate with what I'm about to say, but I think the consensus from what I've seen is that you're part of the same soul or something and you split off, and then is that what it is? Like the unification of the souls, like because you're coming together in perfect balance and harmony to do something for Earth, like, but I don't know.
I don't know either, but I was like, that really threw me off then. I was like, they're the same soul? I was like, that's not what I thought it was, but...
Or maybe not,
again...
maybe two twin souls that are coming together to do something. I don't know, maybe, but
gosh, my understanding of that was like way off. Like,
well, maybe I'm way off for it. I mean, what's your understanding of it?
Well, I think like mine was just really basic. Like I was like, oh, okay, maybe they are two souls that have just come through each lifetime together, time and time and time again. That they're meant to be involved in each other's lives time and time again. But I don't know. I think what my understanding of that was a lot. Maybe my understanding is like soul families, or like that's a whole different thing.
I don't know. Maybe.
I'm confused. I've confused myself. Don't worry. Please,
okay, so
go on.
I believe in soul families, but I don't know if it's a real thing. Look, okay, let's say for a second. Is that the right expression? Okay, let's just say that there is a soul that you've traveled through every incarnation with, and that person has been your significant other every time you've been with them.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this time they're here to break your heart. Maybe that's their role, so you can go through that experience of a broken heart and understanding what it's like to not have that person in your life and to be okay with them going out into the world and having their own experiences.
Yeah.
So that doesn't take away, let's just say it was 100 lives that you guys were together, or this was the 100th life where you've encountered that person. It doesn't take away from the 99 times that you were together. Maybe you had a great relationship in all those 99 lives. But that was then. This is now. Just because something was one way at one time, it doesn't mean that it's going to be that way this time.
Yeah.
So go with it. I would say don't make assumptions based off of what you've seen. Don't fill in the blanks. So in those situations, I don't know the totality of it, but maybe you'd be shown a happy life just to see that you had it with that person. That there's a reason why you feel the way you do. But what I often feel happens in those situations too, at least in the current time, is that it keeps people attached to toxic dynamics and toxic situations. And then you make excuses for why bad behavior is transpiring.
Yeah.
Oh, he's my twin flame. He can treat me like shit. And so on and so forth. Oh, she's my twin flame. She can do all these horrible things to me. She can talk to me that way. She can abuse me, but it's okay because she's my twin flame. We're here to be together this time. I know we've had many successful lives together and successful marriages, so it's okay that they treat me like shit. Walk away. If someone's treating you like shit, even if you've been with them in 99 lives in a perfect marriage, walk away. Look, of course, someone can have a bad day and be a little grumpy one day. But on the whole, if someone's been treating you a certain way for a very long time and showing you their true colors,
yeah,
walk away.
And that goes for any sort of relationship as well. It's not just significant others. It's, other family members, other friends. Like, you don't have to be stuck in reliving this same, I guess, dynamic in reverse, because maybe this is what you are here to learn this time around. Maybe this is the dynamic that is really going to put you guys through that phase of growth as souls, because you're experiencing the polarity. It's, instead of sticking around, maybe you need to walk away.
Yeah, dagger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it's also really interesting in the fact of soul families. Can we go back? You said you do believe in soul families. What is your belief around that?
So before I dive into that, I will give the definition of what I believe is presented as, which is that there is a group of, let's just say, 10 or 15 souls, which you move through your various incarnations with them, just switching roles. So in this, in our current life, maybe we're part of the same soul family. You were Auntie Elle before, and I was, Nephew Jonah or something. I can't think of a whatever the fuck my name was. But now we've switched roles.
Mm-hmm.
Someone may have been your wife in a past life, then they come back as your mother in this life. Someone may have been your father in a past life, then they come back as your brother in this life. So it's filling these various roles, but you move through the various lives with them. Now, I believe that there are souls that we move through lives with, but I don't believe it's that clear cut. And my basis for that is, one, I just don't think that we live in a universe that's that black and white. That just seems like such a human concept, as I say that with contempt of, piddly humans thinking we understand the intricacies of that all. There was a regression that I had for myself almost 4 years ago. I think I talked about this one on episode 6 of my podcast, but I'll recount the story now so you know.
Just for those who haven't heard it.
I'll try to modify it too. What basically happened was I found myself in the between state, almost the planning stages for this life.
Mm-hmm.
And I found myself in a place where I want to say it was 8 or 9 different lives on a monitor in front of me. And they were in various places around the world. And I was going to be born at various times in about a 15-year window. And all of these lives had something different to accomplish. Now, let's just say that there was one life. I was just going to be picking one life, or one of those lives to go into to be my primary consciousness in this life.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that would, let's incorporate soul families into that. That would make me the focal point of everything, because that would mean that soul family would have to incarnate into any of those lives that I went into. Because when I say they're in different places of the world, we're talking a few remote places as well. Places where you probably wouldn't have interaction with each other. Very isolated places. Now still, I think that's a very human way of looking at it. Because then the next question becomes, what if I'm living in all of those lives simultaneously? But it was a matter of my primary consciousness in this life. Whereas in those lives, they would have their own primary consciousness as a splintering off from my oversoul. Maybe. But if that's the case, does that mean that the soul family is incarnated into all of those lives? Maybe. But then linear time is brought into the equation. And does that mean that your soul family is always incarnated with you at the same time? I don't know. I mean, yeah, do they probably come in at various times? Sure. Is there a possibility that somewhere out there, my members of my soul family are on the other side of the world? Yeah. Maybe I'll never encounter them. But maybe I will. I don't know. But in one of the very first interviews that I did, someone had brought up how when they did a session with me, they saw that, I think it was that their daughter was their sister in a past life. And at the end of the session, I described the concept of soul families to this person. But I said, this is just like the best way that I can put it to you, but I don't know if it's the way that it is. It may be completely different. But I went out of my way to say, this is not a fact. This is not a concrete detail.
Yeah.
When they interviewed me, we're talking about their session, they brought up and I learned how we have soul families. And I mean, it's in that moment also where I learned, look, I can go out of my way to make a point, but someone is just going to take away from it what they're going to take away. Now, I don't think there's any ill intent on this person's part, but I think it was a very simplistic way of putting it. And I think that there is so much more to it. So when people are out there still saying, we all go through our incarnations with soul families. You always go through with 10 to 15 different souls where's your proof? I believe that to be the case. But, it's that difference between a belief and a fact and believing and knowing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, also 10 to 15 is a very specific kind of range of people. It could be, how do we know that that's really what it is? It could be 2. You have just 2 people or 200.
Mm-hmm. I mean, what if there are splinter soul families? Or maybe what if there's a core group, but then there are these outer rings of it? What if there are 1,000 souls, but those are the ones you move through various incarnations, but you got your core group up here. You may not even encounter your core group in a certain life. By the way, if you're listening right now and think you haven't, I'm not talking about you right now. You're not alone. So, hyper aware of these things when I'm saying them. Someone will latch on to that. Oh, I haven't encountered any members of my soul family, so I'm all alone. No, I'm not talking about you right now. We're talking about other people.
Yeah. Maybe you have, you just don't know it. Maybe it exists, maybe it doesn't, one of those things.
Look, another layer of that too is about just consciousness in general. Are we all from one? Look, I believe in non-duality and duality, that concept of separation. But are you ever truly alone? So just if you get I don't know why I keep going back to this place, but if you get a reading from someone, even if they're not a past life regressionist, but they're just a psychic, and they say to you, oh, you haven't met any members of your soul family. One day you may, or, no, none of the members of your soul family are with you right now. I don't know where I was going with that one, but just.
No, it's really interesting that you brought it up, because that's something that I face a lot in my work is, people telling me, well, I had a reading from someone and they told me this person has been in my life for this many generations or this many incarnations, or this person's my twin flame, and this, you know, all that sort of shit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, again, this is just somebody telling you something.
Mm-hmm.
This is just somebody telling you something and you taking that as fact. And this is the huge thing that you preach all the time about belief and knowing, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
we can't know that. And if you take someone at their word and turn that into a fact for yourself, that limits you from so many other possibilities. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there could be a range of different scenarios that happen in past life regression that you see that may counteract what you've been told in that reading, or and you know, you're not open to it, and you're not open to learning that lesson because you're so fixed and focused on what you've been told.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why past life regression is such a big thing for me, because it's, again, we're not telling you anything.
Mm-hmm.
You're experiencing it for yourself and coming to your own decisions and your own beliefs out of the information you've been given. And it really does rub me the wrong way when people come to me and they're like, well, you know, I'm expecting to see this person in my past life regression because I've had this reader tell me that this person is, you know, my lost love, and, you know, but they don't love me now, but, you know, oh, I just, you know, I need to find them, or, you know, whatever. Or, again, they're in a toxic relationship, copping it because they've been told that that is their twin flame, or that is who they're meant to be with through each lifetime. And that's what they've carried from that. It's like, no. Don't just take them at their word.
I want to say a couple of things about the twin flame thing really quick. First is, I have seen it where there has been someone who believes that a certain someone was their twin flame and had a separation after the fact, but been able to not long for it in what I perceive to be an unhealthy way, and to take away the lessons.
Yeah.
Whereas I was with this person, I believe they were my twin flame, but here's what I learned. Now they're off here, or they're off doing their thing. Like, I have no problem with that. And like, I have no problem with anyone believing any of these concepts either, because maybe they are true. But to me, that's a healthy example of, okay, you're putting a label on it, but you're looking at the meat of it. And here's what I learned from this situation. I'm grateful that that person taught me that experience, or, you know, that lesson through that experience.
Yeah.
I think that's okay. Now, when it comes to a reading with someone, look, I believe that there are bona fide psychics out there. I genuinely believe that. I believe that there are some out there who have found specific fields that they know that people will gravitate to. And one of those that I'm vaguely aware of are twin flame readers. Look, there may be bona fide twin flame readers out there. So I know Elle just made a face. So maybe like I don't want to make a statement that lumps all of them in, because I don't know. That would be wrong of me to say that. But I'm also going to make the assumption that if someone is strictly a twin flame reader, that if you go in there for a twin flame reading, you're probably not walking out of there with no information on a twin flame. I don't know that to be the case, but probably. So
Expected outcome is to have some sort of information, yeah.
Yeah, because even if they have a little disclaimer that says, if your twin flame reading doesn't produce results, you don't have to pay. I don't know, maybe that's a good way to get you in the door. But at that point, they probably produce results. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But I'm just saying, these are the things still to be on the lookout for if you're going to these places.
Right. For
something like that, then you're going to walk out with something like that. Unless you find the most honest one in the world. Yeah. Which, look, there is at least one most honest one out there in the world. So.
But, you know, that's the thing. Like, I'm with you on that. Like, I also believe that there are definitely psychics out there and readers out there of certain fields that, sure, are tapped in to that element and have very informative information to share. Mm-hmm. But it's still not something that you should take as fact. Yeah. You know, like I was told that my mother had split her soul and come back and shared with my daughter and things like that.
Oh, yeah,
and I was like,
that question came up, didn't it?
Yeah. And I was like, okay, like, that's a nice concept, but I can't know if that's real or not. And it was something I asked my higher self, and they were just like, not quite. That's not quite how it works. And I was like, cool, okay, thanks for the clarification. Glad I didn't carry that with me as fact.
Yeah. By the way, when that question was asked, and when I saw it on the sheet when we were going through it, I don't think I ever told you this, but so when I see something like that, I'm saying to myself, oh, fuck. Oh, shit. Because if for some reason you're able to project through the higher self, look, I don't know, those things are still, I think they may be possible. But if you're projecting through it, you know, that person said it, so I'm going to project that answer. And then you walk away from that. You say, oh, not only did a psychic tell me that in a reading, but then I had a past life regression and my higher self said it as well. Oh my God. I heard that too. Who is your past life regressionist? Oh, Daniel, the past life regressionist. You should get a reading with him. Or, not a reading, but yeah, past life regression, not a reading. I don't do past life readings. But yeah, so I'm low key freaking out when I see questions like that because I'm like, I believe it's possible for there to be projection here. So
yeah.
I don't want to be a part of someone's, and even for other questions along those, like look, I'm sure you've seen them on questionnaires too. Like there are some things that are out there, and I'm okay with anyone asking anything, but I'm also low key freaking out at some things. Like, oh please, please higher self, stay strong through this and give them the answer that I believe is in their best interest.
Exactly. And that's something that, you know, I can completely relate to, because there's so many times where you do have those questions and you're like, oh no, is this gonna be a projection? Like, there's that very cautious element about it. And then when the higher self comes through, it's like, you stay in the background, you let the higher self come through, you just shush and make sure that you are getting the answer that is beneficial or resonates with you, rather than a projection of how you want it to be. Because what you want and what you need are generally different things.
Exactly. And look, even for that reading that you got, look, I don't know who the reader was, but I wouldn't even say that their message came from a place of ill intent. It may have just been their perception of what they were receiving, which still, like with past life regression, as you said, the great thing is we're not telling you anything. So we're not putting it through our human lens and interpreting it in a certain way where you need to, you know, grab onto our words.
Yeah. So
that person their heart may have been in the right place. And maybe they were, who knows? Who knows what it is? But I would just say, even for past life regression, don't treat it as fact. I mean, it's painful for me to say that, but treat it as an opportunity to learn about yourself and how you can improve your life in the here and now.
Definitely.
Yeah. Dagger.
Yeah. So I guess another question that I wanted to ask you was, when you have your own regressions and you see people in your own regressions, if you see them in your current lifetime, do you recognize them?
You mean if I meet them after?
If you meet them afterwards, yes. Sorry, I should have specified that.
That's a good question. No one's ever asked me that before. I'm like going through the Rolodex right now. The good thing about my past lives, though, depending on how you look at it, is I don't see people I know that often.
Yeah.
That killed me for a long time. Not literally, but you know, that really wore on me. But then after, I was like, whatever, it's fine.
Well, that was the thing with me, is, you know, like when I went through my past lives, I didn't recognize anybody in my current life until after the fact. Like, you know, a few days later, when things are starting to like come back to you and you like think about it more and dwell on it more, you're like, hang on, that person was somewhat familiar. And then you're like, oh. And you kind of like have this recollection after the fact. Well, in my case. But again, that lifetime with you, it was very much, yeah, I know that guy. Yeah. But again, I think that's because you were relevant at the time. You were guiding me through, so you were the most, like, you were closer to me at that point for me to be able to recognize, I think is the difference. But the more sessions that I have for myself, the quicker I am easy to pick up those recollections, like who that person is. So I don't know if that's like a skill that comes over time or whether that happens for a whole lot of people. So that was, yeah, I don't know how you feel about that or what you think about that.
With regards to it becoming clear over time?
Well, that and whether you recognize people at all.
I think it's possible that it's becoming clear to you over time because, I mean, even in your first session, you were a bit more closed off. Maybe not closed off, but there was, I think, some apprehension to completely allow the process to unfold.
Yes.
Whereas, like, you came in ready after that, which is why I'm always saying to everyone, to just trust whatever comes through, just however you think is going to happen, just trust the process. It'll all make sense at the end.
Yeah.
Also, just to answer your question about seeing someone in a past life and then meeting them later on, I don't think that that's happened. But what I have had happen is that I have recognized people who have been in my life in the past, in this life, like many years ago. So they're not even on my radar at the time.
Yeah.
Like one example of that is, I was a teacher in one life, and I had the equivalent of two like teacher's aides, we'll call them.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't like me very much. So
that's right, because you were the fun teacher, right? You were stirring the kids up all the time.
Oh yeah. I have talked about this life before.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they were the more the administrators, I guess you could say, more so than teachers' aides. Like they'd been at the school longer, but I was in charge, which didn't go over well. And at a certain point, I had recognized one of them as a teacher of mine from high school. When I saw that, I was in my 30s at the time.
Mm.
And in that moment, like what I'm pretty good at now is not thinking about these things too much in the moment while I'm having the regression of, oh, that's why this connection makes sense. Like I'm pretty much on this point where I'm just hitting the ground full steam. It's like, oh, we'll worry about this shit later. Yeah. Whatever the connection is, why it makes sense, I'll figure it out later. And then it made sense to me. Like this is a teacher who taught me some very valuable lessons. But I had an interesting relationship with this teacher in terms of just, I was a bit of a jackass. Like I was more bored than anything. And I mean, she was an amazing teacher. A teacher who actually said to me, I don't think you should go to college. Now, under normal circumstances, you'd think that that's a horrible thing to say to a high school senior. But she was right.
Mm.
I was not cut out for traditional college. She told me exactly what I needed to hear, even though I didn't want to hear it. I mean, look, I didn't listen to her. I still went to college. I mean, I ended up graduating 16 years later, but not from traditional college at that. But yeah, I saw her as one of the administrators. And then it started clicking of, okay, well, I gave her shit in that life, just as I did in this one. Now, again, the things, I was not a bad kid. I don't want to give anyone that impression. And I went to a smaller school, so our classes were smaller. Like our max class size was 12. And the day that we got back from winter vacation, I walked in the class and I stood in front of her. Like, we had a 2 or 3 week break at the time. And I looked her up and down, and I just kind of leaned back a little bit. I said, "You pregnant?" Now she wasn't, and she didn't look like she put on any weight. But that's just the kind of shit that I would do because I was bored. And she knew that I was just, exactly. Like she knew I had a good heart and that I wasn't doing any of these things maliciously. Still probably not the best thing to say to a woman in her 30s, but
it's not a good thing to say to a woman ever, even if she is pregnant.
Well, that and a woman who's in charge of your grade.
Yeah.
When she's reading your papers and they're very subjective, or when it comes to grading, yeah, because it's not a multiple choice test. Probably not the wisest thing to say in that situation, but that's the kind of shit that I would do. But it made sense. The dynamic that I had with her about my English teacher being the one to teach me that valuable lesson of, because it went just beyond college. It was more a lesson of, you're just not cut out for traditional. Like, you need to forge your own path. And in that life, I was way too stubborn to take any of her advice. But in this life, at least I found myself in a place where I was too stubborn to take her advice at the time, but I took it to heart and it stuck with me. And then I went back and spoke on an alumni panel 10 years after I graduated. And I stood up in front of all of the seniors and juniors. And I said, one of the greatest things that a teacher ever said to me here is, you are not cut out for college. Because we were there to share our college experience. I said to them before they invited me, I didn't graduate from college. But it's, I don't want to say paying it forward, but it's how I then took that as an opportunity to say to these kids what I don't think anyone was telling them. Because it was a school for kids with learning disabilities. So it's like, hey, you're not cut from the same cloth as anyone else. And even with all their parents there, I had no problem saying that. But it made sense to me, the dynamic that was there. And look, is it possible that I was projecting that? Sure, it's possible. But I also, when I do my own regressions, I'm not going in there thinking about who am I going to meet that was in that past life that's in my life now. Like I said, I'm going full steam ahead of what's the lesson here? What is it that I need to apply to my life today? That's important. Oh, sure, that person was my wife in a past life. Awesome. Good marriage. Awesome. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Like, what's the lesson? I saw how they were supporting me there. I see how they're supporting me now. Awesome. They're not my wife in this life. They don't need to be. They're not my husband in this life. They don't need to be. They're not my friend in this life. They don't need to be. They serve their purpose then. Like, that's, the takeaway there. And I don't think maybe this answered your original question, right? About how do
recognizing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool to see the links, but that person was not my English teacher in that past life. I mean, they served in an advisory role in that life. I gave him shit in that life, gave him shit in this life. But on the whole, we'll probably have to come back in another life, and I'll probably have to
maybe
do better next time. Yeah.
You'll listen.
Or I won't walk into class and on that first day after winter break, it's, are you pregnant? So, but it's what's the lesson? What did I miss in that life that I shouldn't miss in this life? And so I don't think that there should be should and shouldn'ts, but I miss things in that life. So if I have the capacity to acknowledge those things now, then you know what? I should acknowledge it now.
Yeah.
Because why kick the can down the road?
And you bring up an interesting point there, as well as it being a teacher from high school. Like, it's not someone in your immediate family. It's not someone in your close friend group. It's someone completely random that, you had shared some time with in your adolescence of going through school. Like, this is the thing too, is like, so many people think that a soul family is like your immediate family. Like, not necessarily. It could be that one driving instructor you had that one time. Like, it's not necessarily the people that you're close to that are, I guess in theory, part of your soul family.
Dagger. Just for the reinforcement there, or the reminder, that means period in Australian.
Does it?
Well, because you guys were a penal colony.
Right.
You're a bunch of prisoners that were shipped over there, so you guys had daggers.
Full stop. End of your story. Dagger.
Yeah, that's, yeah. Yeah, end of sentence, end of paragraph, end of paper. Dagger.
I guess, too, I should ask, because people have asked me since the finale episode of season 1.
Awesome episode.
Thank you. Not counting all your little shout outs through through season
Well, you
1.
said it, I didn't. I just said it was an awesome episode.
I did want to ask you why you encouraged me to become a past life regressionist, because when people ask me this, like, oh, what led you down this path? And it's kind of like, well, I just kind of like had my session and it was so transformational that I just kind of like fell into it. But really, you had such a big helping hand in that, and I just don't really know how to answer that to people because I was not in your frame of mind. So maybe you can elaborate.
I can put it very simply for you, followed by some slight explanations.
Okay.
I trusted my gut. Simply put, it was a gut feeling that said to bring it up with you, and to look, for you, I just needed to gently encourage you to do it.
True.
Like, hey, I think you'd be good at this. Okay, yeah. That was the extent of it. Another part of it is, I mean, I think this goes hand in hand with the gut feelings. I'm looking at who I want to be up on stage with me in the future. So if my gut is telling me, to bring something up, in those moments, then I'm flashing through my mind, thinking of all the possibilities of things and thinking, why is this coming up? Like, I'm not going to question it, but I'm going to figure that out right now, even if I can't come to a conclusion. And at that point, I'd gotten to know you a little bit. I understood your presence. I understood the way that you think. And I saw that you were someone who I wanted up on stage with me.
Aww.
And at the heart of it it was a gut feeling. Like, I'm very good at trusting my gut and not needing to ask why. I think that's where a lot of people get hung up. And then it's questioning themselves. Can they trust this gut feeling? And I just do. I trust it. And I don't make that suggestion to many people to become a past life regressionist. Like, even with you, in a human sense, I had everything to lose by making that suggestion to you. And when I say that, for everyone listening, I mean, Elle was kicking ass with referrals right from the get-go.
Yeah, I think majority of my family had a session with you by that
Yeah,
point.
and I like your family. So what I was also pissing away was that pipeline of referrals for years to come. So I put myself to the side when it came to that and said, this isn't about me. This is about, and also seeing the potential in you to be someone who, look, there are better past life regressionists than me. There are ones who aren't as good as me. There is no one like me. Like, I pride myself upon that. So but what I saw in you is someone who could even eclipse me when it came to notoriety or success in this realm. But I didn't give a shit because it wasn't about, keeping my competition out of the field. It's about encouraging people who I think could help the world and who could, look, the other thing with being up on stage with me is me not worrying about overshadowing someone. That's the other thing, is because I don't want to ever have to I'm confident in my ability to be up on stage and to not only perform as a performer in front of people, but also to present myself as I am.
Yeah.
But I also don't, if I'm up there with people, I don't want to overshadow anyone. So it's a matter of not having to dim my light in order to make someone feel like I'm not overshadowing them. So I'm looking for people who can stand up there shoulder to shoulder with me and be able to carry themselves in a way that's unique from me. And then I don't have to worry about overshadowing them because they can hold their shit in their own right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just thought you'd be good at it. So,
Well, thank you.
I trust my gut, though.
And I mean, after I had the session, there was definitely like this inkling inside of me that was like, this would be really cool. Like, this would be something that you could do and you could do well. But it was kind of like I didn't really know where to turn from there. And it was kind of like, maybe, you know, I just won't listen to that. But then it was like, you were like, hey, you should do this. And then I think when it went on sale, you were like, hey, look, screenshot. Hey, look, this. Hey, look, that. And I was like, okay, yeah, cool, I'll do it.
Well, that's because you expressed interest in it. That's why.
Yes. I was very like, yeah, I would love to do that. I would consider doing that.
But I also knew you meant it when you said it. So it's not like one of those people who was just saying it. Because if I felt like it was something empty that you were saying, I wouldn't be sending you the screenshots of the stuff being on sale. So I don't want to sound like I was forcing it upon you. It's like, no, I could tell she was into it.
No, not at all. Not at all forced. But it's also been, you've been such a guiding hand as well, like through the process. And I think, you know, I think when I approached you and was like, hey, this might be a little bit like off course for you, but, you know, would you mind mentoring me a little bit in some aspects? Like, I feel like I would really, and because we think in a very similar way in a lot of aspects. I was like, okay, he's not going to bullshit me. Like, he's going to be real with me, and that's what I need. So it was very, it was just kind of like, yeah, that's no turning back. No looking back on that.
But I'm glad you followed through. Like, for anyone who's out there listening right now and thinking if you want to become a past life regressionist, I'm sorry, was there more? Did you want to praise me more? I'm sorry.
I feel like I have praised you a whole lot through season 1. Season 2, I've got to rein it in.
Why? Don't. I mean, as you guys so eloquently put in the season finale anyways, how you don't want to puff my head up any more than it already is. You couldn't just give it to me, and then you had to follow it up with the caveats.
Yep.
But yeah, if anyone is listening and you're interested in becoming a past life regressionist, or just please reach out to me, and I'd be happy to just point you in the right direction. Or even if you are a past life regressionist who's just starting out and you have questions, reach out to me. I may not be able to give you all the answers or give you concrete answers, but I'll give you whatever I can. Like, I'd be happy to help you. Because like, even Elle, there are things that I offer that she doesn't take me up on. She knows what I'm talking about.
This is true.
I don't know why she doesn't. She sacrificed her life for me in a past life. It's like the least I could do.
That is true. Yeah. But I mean, there is a lot that I'm like, yeah, okay, I will do that as well. But you are always willing to go above and beyond. As like, for me anyway, like, I don't know about other people. Just kidding. But you're always there, so I really, really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. And I mean, I'm happy to help. Still broken records, the least I can do. But yeah, still for anyone, so when it comes to those, I may not be able to go above and beyond for everyone. But if you have questions about stuff, just reach out to me. Unless, like, I have people get stupid questions. And yeah, I know people say, well, there is no stupid question. The only stupid question is the one that you don't ask. When I have people sending me questions, do you believe in reincarnation? What the fuck do you think? I'm not going to respond to that. So, really? You're asking me that? No, I'm not.
That is crazy.
Maybe I should just respond, no.
See what they say.
But seriously, if it's anything within reason, like, I'm happy to answer. Oh, another thing is, make sure you phrase it as a question. That's important too. Because I have people sending me stuff about experiences that they're having, but there's no question. I'm very apprehensive to respond if there's no question, because I want to be able to give. Look, I'm saying a lot of this for you right now. Get used to it, Elle. I want to give as much of myself as I can, but I also do need to look out for myself. So when people send me these long stories about what they're going through, those long stories require a very thoughtful response that I don't have the energy to give, because what this, at least in my mind, this person is reaching out to me because they don't have someone else to share that experience with, which I sympathize with that. But I can't be that person. But they could send me that long thing and then a question at the end, and yeah, it'd be easier for me to answer the question because then I don't have to touch on everything. So, still, I think that goes for just, it's important to put questions. It's like, even with our sessions, I don't think we've talked about this yet, but I'm sure you've probably seen that sometimes when people are coming in with questions, they're not phrased as questions.
Yeah.
They're more explanations for things. In order to get an answer to a question, I think first you need to know how to ask the right question. I think that's really important. So just in life, asking questions is very important.
Yes.
If you want an answer to something, you have to know how to ask the right question.
Absolutely. And I'm just going to be the grammar police for a second, but when you fill out your higher self questions and you're asking a question has a question mark at the end of it. It's not it's not just like, what was my connection to my husband in a past life, full stop. Like, that's not a question. You need the question mark. Fill it out properly.
Jesus, you really are a grammar police there. It's phrased as a question. It just doesn't have a question mark. Cut him some slack, Elle. Because then you're probably reading that really upset. The whole thing, like, they didn't put a question mark behind it.
It just, like, tweaks something in my brain, I swear. It's like there's no question mark there, though. Is that a question? Like...
So, like, I'm okay with that, though. Because as long as it's phrased like a question. Because it could be written like a question, and then there's a question mark at the end. But it's not a question that they're asking. It's like,
yeah,
I have 17 cats, question mark.
Or I have this reoccurring dream, and they tell you about the dream, and it's like, okay,
question mark.
What do you want to know? Do you want to know why you have the dream?
Right, yeah.
Like,
so Auntie Elle, just because you put a question mark behind it doesn't make it a question. Cut them some slack without it.
Fair. That's
It's
fair.
okay. It's not an insult to you that they didn't. Because they're getting it out. That's what's important now. That's what's important.
Yeah.
That was fun. They didn't phrase it as a question.
Well, the thing too, I get a lot, like, people come and ask me questions before, like, committing to a session, which I'm sure you get as well. And a lot of the time it's, what if I don't have a past life? What if I don't see anything? And from my experience, I've never had anyone not see anything. But what's your experience on that?
You mean the question that I most frequently asked?
Is it for you too? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I say, as long as you trust the process and allow the process to unfold, you will experience something. Now, you may not always see something. Like 95% people see something. I'm just throwing that number out, but that's what it seems to be. But there are other people who don't necessarily see things, or at least they don't see it the way they think that they're going to see it. Because I think people come in with the expectation that it's going to be this full immersive experience. But it's not. Sometimes, maybe. But I just say it may come through in a way that you don't expect it to, which is why I also tell everyone, don't have any expectations, because however you think this is going to happen, I promise you it won't be that way. So it may just come through a knowing, or it could just be you're hearing something. It could even be the smell of something. But yeah, my response is just, if you trust the experience, then you will experience, if you trust the process, you will experience something.
Yeah.
And if you tell yourself that you're not going to see anything, then you won't.
Yeah.
It is much easier than people think to have that type of experience. It's not that complicated. As long as you allow it to happen. Exactly. Just go with it and allow it to happen, and it will happen. Now, of course, There may be that very, 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 very slim minority of the population. You know, at point oh 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 whoa, whoa, you know, just add a couple decimals in there. Percentage of the population that is not capable. But if you're listening to this right now, that's not you. You can have the experience.
Absolutely. And I often say to people as well, like, if I tell you about the McDonald's sign, right? McDonald's sign, really common, yellow arches. We all know what it looks like. If you can remember what that looks like without actually seeing it, you can do it. You can visualize. Like, that's fine. It's just letting go and stop trying to control the process, which I so very much struggled with that first time around.
You did well, though.
Thank you. But yeah, I guess too, I never asked you because remember in my first session, we had.
Sorry.
You're like, no. In the hotel, and we had the baggage cart. Yeah. And then in real life, we had this noise that was coming up.
Yeah.
And we had to stop and come back.
Yeah.
Did you ever go back to the recording and listen and see if it was on the recording?
No. But I remember the noise, though. I remember, because I was concerned at the time that it was something that was coming through your headphones. I remember that. But I remember that noise, because I remember when you told me about it last time. I don't think, maybe I remembered, but I remembered after.
Yeah.
It was, something like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you said it was on the recording, right?
I think it was, but I haven't gone back to check. But like, it's been a while since we recorded the episode on your podcast. But when I was talking about it then, I was like, oh yeah, no, I need to go back and check it, but I still haven't done it. I was wondering, did you do it? But no, but I'm pretty sure it's on the recording from memory.
Yeah, it probably would be because I remember hearing it. So, and I don't have it in headphones at that point.
The thing was like, I originally had headphones, but then because we were doing virtually and we had WhatsApp, like, I didn't have headphones because we were using my phone.
Mm-hmm.
But I could hear the noise through the regression, but you could hear it on the outside.
Yeah. So it wasn't in the room?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. Look, there are things that happen. I don't know.
It just blows my mind. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
It's just another Tuesday. Look, maybe there's a completely plausible explanation for it, but I don't know, maybe it was just the sound of the cart coming through. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah. Could be.
It's one of those, like, just, you can't know. You can't really explain. It's just kind of like, we just roll with it.
Well, it's like my new thing is somehow when you mix yellow and blue, you make green. Oh, somehow. I don't even understand how that happens or why that happens. I just accept that it does.
Yeah.
Is there something behind that, right?
Yeah.
Oh, somehow when you mix yellow and red, it makes orange. I don't know. It just does. So in this situation, yeah, sometimes when you're doing a past life regression halfway around the world, it could be the sound of the luggage cart going by. I don't know. Somehow it happens. I don't know how or why, but I don't know. Sometimes it does.
Sometimes you just experience some weird things.
Yeah, I came up with that color thing during a flat Earth interview.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. By the way, I believe it's round.
Good. I'm glad you clarified that.
Because when I told you about that, like, do I need to be worried about you? So, nope. I'm interviewing someone who believes the Earth is flat.
Yeah, when you told me that, I was like, oh no, we lost him. He's now on the conspiracy theory bandwagon. How did this happen? And I was like, should I be concerned? And you're like, no.
See, look, she makes all these assumptions about me without even just asking me first. Or even just that assumption. Wait, so you're interviewing a flat earther? Yeah.
Yeah. See, at least I can say, look, you know, I've always had like the base minimum expectation of like sanity. And and you've always risen above the expectation. So we're good. It's fine.
A really high bar there. Thanks, Elle.
Yeah.
Auntie Elle.
Well, that's the thing too, is like with past life connections, like when we first dived into that sort of thing, I don't think we talked about this, but when we first had the first session and I was getting like the visions of our connection or whatever, because the higher self was like, nah. And I was like, no, fuck you, tell me. And I was getting these visions. It wasn't the same life that I saw. So was that the same for you?
Yeah, I didn't see the... Wait, you mean for that one that you were? You mean in the second time we did it?
The second time. Yeah, it wasn't the same life.
Yeah, you were describing a different life than the one that I remember you talking about.
Yeah.
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 Because I remember thinking, wait, I thought you were a dude the first time you brought it up.
Because, yeah, the first time it was like you were like some sort of student of mine. And I was like, this is not the same life.
Yeah. Hence why I'm happy to help you now. Because you've traded your life for mine on at least 2 occasions.
That we know
this
of.
is the least I can do. Yeah, sure, I can help you out a little bit, you know.
And also, that first life that I was getting the visions of, like, you weren't like a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So just, for anyone out there who may want me to help them out with something, book a session with me and then project a life where you saved my life. But it's important that you book the session with me.
And you'll get all the perks.
Right? But, you know, I always say you only need 1 session, but in that circumstance, I'm going to make an exception and say 10 sessions. But only for that one. Only for that one. But make sure you make up something good that's believable.
Right?
Because I smell through bullshit.
Exactly.
So either make it really believable or really flattering to me. Because I may be more willing to just let it go if it's super flattering.
Next time, it'll have to be, you know, you sacrificed yourself for me, like 10 tables.
Either that or, man, I see you as Achilles. Your body really is as banging as Brad Pitt's was in Troy. And then I'll be thinking, I'm kind of giving you hints right now that still wouldn't work because I'd be like, well, that's not now. So what? So I was chiseled and ripped back then. I look like one of the Greek gods. What did he do? So make it something better than that.
Yeah.
Or you could just ask me for help.
Much easier.
I kind of like the first one, though. Yeah.
Well, I think even from my experience, even when I came into that second session and I had the life that I'd already seen with another practitioner that I then had to refer back to you again, that included you in it, my human self, my conscious being was kind of like, no, we don't want to see this again. Like, you've done this, like, can we see something else, right? And it was like a element of like trying to change the channel, but the batteries in the remote just didn't work. So it was like, there was definitely something I needed to see. But I guess too, like, I don't want to oversimplify things and say like, oh yeah, like everyone that sees people or like everyone that has a connection is just projecting, because I'm not going to say that. Because there is the possibility where it is happening. And you know, in my experience, yeah, and I'm definitely not saying that either. I believe that, you know, I did experience that, because there was that element of trying to change the way things were, but I couldn't. But of course there is always that possibility. So it's kind of like, we look at this as there are 2 sides, right? But obviously, I think when you're that deep into the process, it's really hard to try and pull yourself out and see something that you want to see rather than what you need to see. So I don't think that's a concern that people should have going into things, being like, oh, maybe I just projected that. Like, I think it's possible, but I don't think that's likely.
Well, yeah. When someone says that to me, my question usually is why? How would that benefit you by projecting that? And then when they stop and think about it for a moment, they can't come up with an answer. Because even in that situation, even if you were projecting, I'd say, why? How does that benefit your human now?
Yeah.
Now, one other thing about, you trying to kind of steer it away from that not being able to, the feeling I got, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, is it felt like it was steering it away because you'd already seen it. You already knew all there was that you needed to know. And this is why I advise, not for you necessarily, but why I advise people to fill in the gaps after a session. Where if something didn't come up, then don't complete the story.
Yes.
Don't fill in the gaps with the way you think it is because you went and looked up on something on YouTube or listened to some, just fill in the blank guru or whatever, or practitioner of, oh, well, they said Atlantis was this way. Now, yours wasn't Atlantis, but, just, oh, well, they said they had flying cars in Atlantis. So, we left off at the part where I was sitting on a crystal and then the flying car was going to come, but we cut out there. But yeah, the flying car, and then the flying car went to the different part of Atlantis. And then when I landed, that's when the building started to fall apart because that's when, that's filling in the gaps.
Yeah.
But what that showed you was that I had to repeat this. Elle wasn't filling in the gaps. No. But it showed that there was a lot more that she didn't get the first time around. So had she went ahead and filled in the gaps, that may have been very detrimental.
Yeah.
Because then she probably still would have been shown what I believe to be the correct sequence of events, but she'd be in this space of questioning. Well, the way I saw it going in my mind, or this, or the story that I've created myself and the narrative I've stuck with for the last 3 months, whatever it is that I'm now attached to, what I'm seeing right now contradicts it. So it can't be that way because I like the narrative that I came up with.
Yeah.
So that's where just allowing the process to unfold, such as Elle did. She allowed the process to unfold. I didn't get the impression of any filling in the gaps after that. It was just, I don't want to see this shit or think about it anymore.
Yeah. And then it was like, okay, I guess we have to.
Yeah. So I think that's the prime example of how it's not beneficial just for anyone listening to fill in the gaps to anything. Like, the story will unfold when it's supposed to.
Yeah.
And you'll get those pieces. Like, for me, I'm still getting pieces of stories. Like, I had my first regression almost 8 years ago. I'm still revisiting past lives that I saw in the first year of my exploration of past lives, where I'm still seeing more of the picture. So it unfolds in the time when it's supposed to unfold. So chill the fuck out.
Yeah.
Exactly. You're special. You're special, people who are listening. It's okay. You're special. So anytime you need someone to tell you, good, I just did. So you can take that to heart. But anyone placing an external pressure to grow up faster or to ascend faster, tell them to shut the fuck up and let you do your thing at your own pace.
Yeah. Like, I've had clients as well that have seen certain aspects of past lives and then come out and been like, well, maybe this happened at, like, again, trying to fill in the gaps. It's like, okay, well, you saw what you saw. Let's leave it at that. If there's anything else that you need to see, I'm sure you'll revisit that at another time. Let's not put things there that aren't there. Dagger.
Yeah, dagger. The Australian period.
Well, I don't know if I have anything else to add. Do you have anything else to add?
Good, because it's yogurt time.
Yeah, cool.
Thank you for having me. Can I go get my yogurt now?
You can. If you get a more adventurous flavor than vanilla cookie dough.
No, because I'm going to my spot. Because as I told Elle earlier, I'm going to meet up with a friend of mine who I've been friends with for years. And she was the first person of mine. I was friends with her before I did a session with her, but she was the first person who was a client of mine who then became a past life regressionist after. And she lives near my favorite yogurt place. So, I mean, of course, when I go over and hang out there, we're going to talk past lives and stuff like that. It's always fun. Like, we don't talk about the weather or, yeah. I still have those conversations.
Why?
Wait, talking about past lives and stuff?
No, like conversations about weather, and that's...
I don't know, but whenever I want to get out of a conversation during small talk, let's say, so how's the weather? How about that weather? It's been a hot one lately.
True.
Starting to warm up. Stay bundled up. Loving this weather this weekend.
Oh no.
That's what I find myself saying to people in the garage in my building. Have a good weekend. Yeah, stay cold or stay warm. Yeah. Okay, I want to go get my yoga now. This is good. Thank you for having me on, Elle.
Thanks for being here. If people want to work with you, where can they find you?
They can't.
They can't? No, you're done.
I'm totally kidding. Totally kidding. So you can reach me on Instagram at the Past Life Regressionist. My website is thepastliferegressionist.com. I'm sporadically adding to a TikTok, the Past Life Regressionist. And you can check out my podcast, Timeless Spirituality, where some of the episodes are like this. Some of them aren't, put it that way. Some are super serious where you may listen and be like, damn, it's the same guy.
Right?
Like, holy shit, he just went there. Oh, it's like, oh yeah. Others, it's the same guy. Yeah, I've got some. Well, this episode will be aired in 2023, right? At some point.
Yeah. Yeah.
So at this point, I probably will have aired some of my newer episodes that are a little more out there. So go ahead and check them out. Also completely different from the one we've done today. Elle knows which one I'm talking about. I sent it to her.
I'm so excited for it.
Yeah.
Your audience is definitely going to have a steep decline, I think, but
probably.
It's going to
I'm going to lose some people after that one. Yeah, some of them are really not going to like it. But you guys will.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if Elle hasn't scared you away yet, then you'll be on board for this stuff.
Exactly.
And if you're still listening to this point, I don't know if you're going to chop this into 2 or 3 episodes or just keep it as one. But if it's just one and you stuck around, then you'll enjoy it. Even if you've cut this into 2 episodes, or else cut this into 2 and you've stuck around, you get my brand of humor a bit. So, even though still that's much more off the wall than anything I've said today. Yeah. So thank you for having. Oh yeah, Timeless Spirit. Did I say the name Timeless Spirituality? Okay, yeah. Timeless Spirituality. Timeless Spirituality. Check out Timeless Spirituality.
And in case you missed it,
Spirituality Timeless backwards.
Yeah. Timeless
Spirituality. So thank you for having me, Auntie Elle. Auntie Elle. Dagger.
Dagger. Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed part 2 of Past Life Connections and the Multiverse. But before we wrap up today, I know during the episode we talked about a certain noise that was showing up inside my regression that Daniel was also able to hear. Well, it just so happens it showed up on the recording. So, I've attached the audio in case you are curious. Stay tuned.
Is the crackling going?
Trolley.
Can you hear crackling right now, or is it in your home?
Yeah. It's the trolley.
Oh, it's the trolley outside? Elle, you still with me?
Yeah.
So that sound is the trolley outside your house right now?
No.
Oh, you're saying the trolley in the regression?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you hearing the crackling right now, though?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's give it a... Keep reporting back to me what's going on as long as it's not bothering you.
Okay.
All right, what are you seeing?
I'm in the hallway, and there's a trolley, like a baggage trolley.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And a guy pushing it.
And what's happening now?
I'm just standing there.
Okay. Here's what I want you to do really quick. I'm going to hang up the phone. I want you to go ahead and open your eyes and take off Do Not Disturb. And then I'm going to call you right back, okay?
Okay.
It's okay. We'll be able to go right back in. It's okay. So just go ahead and take off Do Not Disturb.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. All right. Let's go ahead and place the phone down, and we're going to go right back in, okay?
Okay.
Perfect. All right. Why don't you just go ahead and close your eyes? And you're back there with the trolley. You were in the hallway, correct?
Yeah.
All right. And what do you see?
The trolley stopped at a door.
Well, this is your Earthside spirit guide signing off for the week. If you'd like to know more about how you can work with me, you can follow me on Instagram at elle.embers or visit my website, elleembers.com.